Say it's alright. Say it's alright. It's alright. Have a good time.
They both came to the United States in the late 60s and early 70s. His father decided to try his luck in his business in New York, and his mom came as a nurse. His parents were not supportive of his love towards art when he was growing up. It's a cliche amongst Asians of a certain generation. They never saw a job in the arts as a practical career.
You're going to be a doctor or a lawyer, but you're never going to be an artist because you can't live off of that.
The first spark, the thing that started it all, I saw a flip book when I was a kid. I remember flipping it over and over again. There was such a magic. That's all I did in the corner of my textbooks, in the corner of any book that I ever read, there would be a flip book.
I finally convinced my parents to let me go to art school.
Peter went to high school in New York and then CalArts in Southern California. After graduation, got a job in LA that got him up to Pixar in 2000. Each show that he was on was in the art, story, animation department, and sometimes voice work. In the movie Up, Russell was a somewhat chubby version of himself. Asian kid without an accent. There were no stereotypes to what being Asian is. The character was just an Asian American. He loved being part of it.
It was a lucky path for me. All I wanted to be was an animator. That's it, period, for my whole life. When I was a kid, I didn't really emotionally understand what it took for them to come here with nothing and then build a life in New York City, especially at that time.
His father had a work ethic that a lot of immigrants have. Getting up in the morning, going to market, bringing the produce in. Long days from 4 or 5 in the morning to 11 o'clock at night, 7 days a week.
Coconuts coming up.
Coconut coming up.
That shop is not only the place that Ember grew up in, not only a place for the community, but Dad's dream to give Ember, like my father, to my brother and I, a new life.
This shop is dream of our family.
Someday it'll all be yours.
The places where his parents worked, they didn't see how someone could get a job in the arts and have a life. In their protective way, it was always a no. Sean was born in New York, lived a culturally Korean life at home. But at school, it was American.
Growing up, I just wanted to be American. And at that time, I remember feeling ashamed of my heritage because it was made fun of all the time, and I didn't want to be that. There was so much a part of me that wanted to fit in, but it's a part of those developmental milestones that I've learned when you assimilate, the phase of being ashamed of one's culture and then the evolution of when that turns into pride.
This is one moment where the world says that it's not meant to be.
Go back to Fireland!
Because she's so young, I feel like it's more like, what is going on?
Burn somewhere else.
Before she goes to the shame, she's beginning to have that inception of the idea of we're not wanted here for some reason, you know?
The pieces of xenophobia and racism, they weren't, some concept that, is a message that I need to talk about. They're just experiences.
When he was in high school, his father found an art supply shop and took over. Because their parents were saying no to a career in arts, this shop was gonna be his.
In Korean culture, like that's a responsibility that befalls the older sibling.
That's right.
And, and I left and I went to California, and to this day, I'm so grateful. Still have so much guilt over it. Like, man,
For most immigrants, the children are born abroad. They learn the language quickly and act as interpreters for their parents.
you're just always translating not only language, but no, that's called sarcasm.
That would be the source of a lot of arguments where, as a young kid, telling my mother what we can or cannot do in this culture.
Now, as a parent and having kids, I become very nostalgic. Walking around my dad's shops triggers those old memories.
It wasn't Korean. It is.
We met at Carl Arts. She was this amazing artist. When I first heard her laugh, it melted my heart. I just fell in love with her.
Our grandmother's dying words were "marry Korean, 한국 여자하고 결혼해," and then she passed, and
Promise me one thing, Mary Fire.